for coming here on the stolen land of the Kwangan peoples as we bring our minds and hearts and spirits to another stolen land, occupied Palestine. It happens to be the 25th of May, which is the 24th anniversary of the liberation of the south of Lebanon from Israeli occupation. In 1982, the Israelis invaded Lebanon and reached and occupied Beirut, where I grew up most of my life. And by the time they withdrew, 20,000 Lebanese and Palestinian civilians were killed by the Israelis and the right-wing militias who were allied with them in Lebanon. When the Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO, laid down its arms in Sabra and Shatila camp and were exiled to Tunis, a month later, Israel oversaw the slaughter of 3,000 unarmed Palestinian civilians in Sabra and Shatila. And this is the lesson that the people in Palestine and Gaza especially learn. No laying down of arms against genociders. It is the fight until liberation or a fight until death. International law did not work in the liberation of South Lebanon. Diplomacy helped a little bit in the liberation of South Lebanon, but it is indigenous armed resistance, which is what's the primary key to the liberation of South Lebanon. And this is a lesson we have learned across the ages. There is no way out of occupation by genocidal regimes except through armed resistance. So how did the Western officials respond to the ICC ruling for the arrest of Netanyahu and Gallant? They fell in line like the Zionist automatons they are and repeated the same phrase, no equivalence. So Trudeau, it is important that everyone respect and abide by international law. What is troubling, though, is the sense of an equivalency between the democratically elected leaders of Israel and the bloodthirsty terrorists that lead up Hamas.
It's the opposite of that.
So let's look at the numbers of Israeli hostages taken by the Palestinian resistance compared to the number of Palestinian hostages held in Israeli prisons. Compare the number of women and children killed by the Palestinian resistance compared to the number of women and children killed by the Zionists. Just look at the numbers and it's clear who are the bloodthirsty terrorists.
Yes.
Israel's mass murder of 16,000 Palestinian children doesn't trouble the Trudeau government, nor is the Trudeau government troubled by the fact that Israel has killed 440 times more children than Hamas on October 7th. No, what troubles the Trudeau government is the sense of an equivalency between Hamas and Israel's genocidal regime. Hamas is labeled a terrorist organization by the EU and 8 other countries, including Canada. The rest of the world, the civilized world that condemns the killing of women and children and upholds the right to armed resistance against foreign occupation, does not consider Hamas a terrorist organization. But Canada's corporate media continues to disgrace itself by whitewashing Israel's heinous crimes. Apparently, there are no atrocities Israel can commit that would cause Canada's corporate media to tell Canadians the truth about the Zionist genocidal regime. And to those who accuse us of trivializing Hamas's October 7th terror, we accuse you of trivializing the 76 years of ethnic cleansing of Palestinians and the erection of an illegal, unjust apartheid system across occupied Palestine. And do you know why this continues to happen? Because Palestinians do not have an American administration which would keep stating in 1948, Palestinians have the right to defend themselves. Because we did not have someone like Piers Morgan endlessly asking his guests, do you condemn the Zionist attacks of 1948? Do you condemn the Deir Yassin massacre, the Tantura massacre, and all the other massacres committed by the Zionist terrorist militias in 1948? This world is racist, and its leaders and its media are hypocrites. Despite all of this, there have been attempts to bring back life in the north of Gaza in the past few weeks. And what does Israel do to make sure Palestinians cannot re-inhabit their neighborhoods? They send in their planes and tanks to destroy whatever infrastructure remains. The last two barely functioning hospitals, Kamal Adwan and Al Auda, have been forced to close and its medical teams forcibly evicted. More than 90% of the Jabalia refugee camp is damaged or destroyed by now. Instead of it being the most densely populated area in the world, it has become the most densely ravaged area in the world. And yesterday, to top it off, a photo emerges of a Zionist soldier gleefully burning the library at Al-Aqsa University, which remains also barely standing in the devastated north. Just imagine an invading army kidnapping you, killing your neighbors, destroying the school where you taught, the hospital where you received medical care, and now burning a university library you visited and used. Yep, reminds me of Nazis. They like to burn books too. Down south in Rafah, as the Zionist butchery intensifies, the resistance operations have escalated to a point where one cannot keep track of them, signaling more and more the inescapable defeats of the cowardly Zionist militia, with all its technological prowess, in the face of young bravehearts hand-delivering demolition charges to the Merkava tanks' back doors. Coming up to the center of the Gaza Strip, where more than 1 million Palestinian refugees have moved for the umpteenth time to a so-called safe zone, there are glimmers of hope. A boy uses his money to buy food for the hungry neighborhood cats without having had a meal himself. A calligrapher decorates the tent in Deir al-Balah with beautiful Arabic writing. May you start every day as if life has just begun. Israel cannot win this war, not only because the resistance is strong in Gaza, in the camps of the West Bank, in South Lebanon, and in Yemen, not only because the Palestinians are resilient and steadfast, refusing to budge from their land. Israel has defeated itself. It is a country founded on ethnic cleansing, which has now become a genocidal state, and proud of it in typical Nazi fashion. The Zionist regime wants so desperately to recast itself from an apartheid state to a liberal democracy. And to escape this crime of apartheid, it is committing the more heinous crimes of ethnic cleansing and genocide. If only Palestinians did not exist, then Israel would finally be the pure Jewish supremacist democracy it has always longed to be. Alas, the world, at least its civilized majority, which excludes the US and Canada, refuses to deal with such states, and history will spit out the Zionist entity into the trash bins of failed regimes, along with the political leaders who were complicit in its enablement. Half a million Israeli Jews have already left the country since October 7th. One-way ticket, no return. An unprecedented number of Israeli Jews are applying for passports in European countries. The ones who choose to remain in Palestine are welcome to coexist with us, the Palestinians, who will return to our birthright, to our homeland, who will exercise our inalienable right to self-determination. Jews, wherever they are, as it has been for centuries in the Arab world before 1948, are more than welcome to live among us so that we can build a truly democratic, free Palestine. In 10 years, maybe 20, the Zionist state will be gone. And when that happens, I hope to see you all in Gaza to help our brothers and sisters heal, to grieve with them, to lift them out of their trauma. And I hope to see you all in Palestine as it re-emerges as the Holy Land. Thank you. Free Palestine!